The rivalry between Sasha Banks and current SmackDown Women's Champion Bayley has certainly been heating up over the past couple of weeks on SmackDown, with a huge development in the storyline occurring last night on the Blue brand, when Sasha Banks had put on a spectacular performance in her promo, with the emotions truly seeming real and genuine about Bayley's recent surprise heel turn, with Sasha stating that she's essentially coming for the one thing that Bayley loves, which is her SmackDown Women's title, only for Bayley to interrupt Sasha's promo by attacking Sasha Banks from behind, and once again storyline injuring Sasha Banks, who was already recovering from her storyline injury sustained by Bayley in previous weeks. Some fans were worried if Sasha Banks was further injured after her segment with Bayley last night on SmackDown, but the WWE put out a tweet this morning stating that while Sasha Banks was shaken up by what had transpired, no further injuries were sustained. But according to a new backstage rumor, Vince McMahon is planning to head in the direction of Bayley continuing to further injure Sasha Banks to the point where Banks' injuries are deemed serious by WWE doctors, and she would shockingly be forced to retire from WWE. But as you would likely expect, this would in fact be a storyline retirement, and a way to keep Sasha Banks off TV for the next month or so, because for those of you unaware, Sasha Banks has been requesting some time off from WWE recently, and Vince has reportedly granted Banks' request. And we have been informed that next week on SmackDown is likely when Bayley will completely lose her cool and seemingly injure Sasha Banks to the point where the WWE will put out a tweet the following day that Sasha's injuries were very legitimate, and that Banks is retired effective immediately until further notice, something that McMahon believes will garner lots of attention and buzz from fans. And following Bayley's successful SmackDown Women's title defense against Nikki Cross at Clash of Champions 2020, Bayley would go on a tirade on SmackDown over the next couple of weeks, discussing how she is unbeatable and basically retired the weak link in her life, that being Sasha Banks, only for Sasha Banks to make her return sometime in October 2020 to seek revenge on Bayley and attack her former best friend, thus creating a shocking moment for fans that Sasha Banks' surprise retirement was just a storyline swerve, and a match between Sasha Banks and Bayley would likely be booked for Hell in a Cell 2020, which takes place on November 1st, in which Sasha Banks will finally be winning the SmackDown Women's title. There's no doubt that Keith Lee has been one of the fastest rising superstars called up from NXT in a very long time, because despite just getting his footing on the main roster, Keith is already being positioned on Monday Night Raw in a spot that is seeing the big man wrestler getting very close to challenging for the WWE Championship. And while Keith Lee has been doing all of this so far as a babyface, a new shocking backstage rumor has revealed that not only does Vince McMahon plan to turn Keith Lee heel in the very near future, likely immediately after Clash of Champions 2020, but McMahon is also reportedly planning on bringing back a gimmick that he believed to have been very successful in the past, that being Mark Henry's Hall of Pain gimmick and persona, with the rumor stating that Vince is actually considering to have Mark Henry return to WWE once Keith Lee turns heel, to effectively become Keith Lee's manager moving forward, because if you hadn't known, Mark Henry had expressed an interest in returning to WWE TV in some capacity recently, aside from being an actual in-ring wrestler, and McMahon reportedly thinks Henry could do wonders for a new monstrous heel Keith Lee, to truly cement Keith Lee's Hall of Pain gimmick as being very legitimate and credible. The storyline on Friday Night SmackDown revolving around Alexa Bliss slowly turning into the Fiend Bray Wyatt's sister Abigail has certainly been very intriguing, with Alexa clearly showing more and more signs with each passing week that she is in fact under the spell or control of the Fiend Bray Wyatt, with yet another teaser showcased on last night's episode of SmackDown, with Alexa Bliss not only using the Fiend's sister Abigail finisher on Lacey Evans, but also being shown in a trance-like state afterwards backstage. And while the story up to this point has been very much regarding Nikki Cross attempting to save her friend Alexa Bliss from being controlled by the Fiend Bray Wyatt and inevitably turning into his sister Abigail, a new breaking rumor has indicated that backstage WWE officials are actually planning on having Alexa Bliss spreading the Fiend's control to Nikki Cross, with the rumor stating that Vince wants both Nikki Cross and Alexa Bliss to be a part of the Fiend's new Wyatt family, with Nikki Cross reportedly set to see her personality begin to change on SmackDown in the coming weeks, with Nikki likely to bring back her twisted sister gimmick, with Nikki and Alexa rumored to win the women's tag team titles again very soon, once their transformations into the Fiend's Wyatt family members are complete. Ever since Dean Ambrose decided to leave WWE for AEW last year, rumors have circulated every now and then about the potential scenario of Dean Ambrose, now known as Jon Moxley, leaving All Elite Wrestling to make a monumental return to WWE, because as most of you are likely aware, Jon Moxley's current AEW contract is unlike that of most superstars signed to the company, as Ambrose has an opt-out clause in his current deal that allows him to leave AEW whenever he wants, after spending one full year in AEW, and considering that one full year is long up, Jon Moxley could theoretically leave AEW for WWE whenever he wants, if an enticing enough offer was presented by Vince McMahon to jump ship. While the chances of Dean Ambrose returning to WWE are definitely very slim, a new backstage rumor has revealed that following Roman Reigns' return to WWE, an inevitable heel turn last month, Vince had secretly reached out to Jon Moxley over a possible return to WWE in the not-so-distant future, with McMahon apparently promising Dean that he would be utilized much better than before and given complete freedom and control over his character, as well as receive a massive push, with Vince hoping that if Dean Ambrose decides to accept his lucrative WWE return contract offer, Ambrose would return to the company on SmackDown to confront Roman Reigns and challenge him for his Universal Championship. One source has mentioned that the money Vince allegedly offered Jon Moxley to consider a WWE return very soon is comparable to what big-name superstars like Brock Lesnar and Roman Reigns earn in WWE, meaning that it's a very sizable offer, something that could certainly grab Ambrose's attention. Let us know if you think Dean Ambrose should consider leaving AEW to accept Vince's huge WWE return offer to feud with a newly heel-turned Roman Reigns, or do you think that despite the big money contract offer, Ambrose or Moxley is better suited in AEW and should not simply leave for more money? One SmackDown superstar that has been rumored to be receiving a big push in the near future is former Intercontinental Champion Big E of The New Day, and while the rumors had indicated that while Xavier Woods and Kofi Kingston are out of action to heal up from their injuries, that Big E would be getting pushed on the blue brand as a babyface, apparently that plan has changed rather drastically this past week, and one shocking backstage rumor has revealed that Vince is actually finally planning to move ahead with a highly anticipated Big E heel turn storyline. Last night on SmackDown, the WWE subtly teased the shift in Big E's character, with Big E going on an absolute tirade behind the scenes to get a bit of payback after Sheamus had attacked him a couple weeks prior. But while Big E is still technically a babyface right now, the WWE are reportedly planning on turning Big E heel after he dismantles Sheamus, likely at Clash of Champions 2020, with the storyline basically being that Big E would absolutely destroy Sheamus after their match concludes, with Big E clearly crossing the line and taking things too far, thus showcasing the debuting new monstrous heel Big E, who is reportedly going to eventually destroy his fellow New Day members Xavier Woods and Kofi Kingston when they return from injury, with one rumor indicating that Big E will be getting drafted to Raw in the upcoming Superstar Shakeup, and will immediately be feuding for the WWE title, with Kingston and Woods staying behind on SmackDown as a tag team.